Just first of all, just want to congratulate Tyriq Thompson again on his signing with Michigan State, and it's a little bit different type situation, I guess, nowadays, where if you sign a Big Ten tender and have all your paperwork done relative to the school and been admitted and all those different type of things, you can release those things. So he's an outstanding player, comes from a great program, ML King, and very quick, explosive, very intelligent player, great tackler, plays tailback as well for his high school, and with the opportunity for him to come here mid-year will give us an indication that all indications are that he would be able to play as a true freshman. So it'll be exciting to watch him as we move forward. Our 100th game here as a staff, since coming here in 2007, is this weekend. I just want to personally thank everyone who's been a part of our program for that period of time, especially our players who have, many have come and gone, and been a very, very large part of our success here. And I just wanted to congratulate them and thank them as well. We have a great challenge against Indiana this weekend, another road game for us. When you look at Indiana right now, I think you see a football team that certainly has had explosive offenses. Tevin Coleman is an outstanding running back, leads the nation in rushing. I know their quarterback situation is, with Sutfield being out now, is a little bit different, but Covington looks like the guy that will be starting for them, but I guess you can't be sure until you get to game time. But I think they're an experienced offense. Their number of starts they have at the offensive line position is probably the largest in what they would call the Power 5 conferences, the most number. I think they have great skill outside. Shane Wynn is a very exciting football player. Defensively, much improved, playing some younger players and getting them involved, and much improved athletically. And I'll take some questions.
Mark, Bo Pelini said he was going to turn you guys into the Big Ten for clapping communication on defense. I'm just wondering, were you contacted by the Big Ten? Did you have to change anything that you do?
No. Simple answer, simple question. It's all good. Bo and I are great. Have a lot of respect for him.
Anything else, guys?
Got out of here.
Mark, you talked about the 100 games, so when you look back, when you came in, was 100 games at all something, you talked about the 7 years, but was 100 games part of the plan at all? When you look back at how different things are from when you got here, can you reflect a little bit?
No, it's sort of a milestone, I think, for us. First of all, I said the other day, that probably the most important thing that I did in coming here was to select our staff, who to bring here, and the continuity that we've had as a staff throughout this time has been largely responsible for our success, both on the playing field and off the playing field. When I say that, I mean our players too. We've not had a lot of attrition here. Most of our players have stayed and worked extremely hard to become a part of this. And no, I really didn't. I really didn't look at 100 games. That's almost unthinkable when you're starting number one. So, I think we've tried to do it the right way, and I think that there's consistency in what we've done.
Mark, halfway through the season, your offense has scored, or your team has scored 273 points. Only 28 of those points came in the fourth quarter. Looking forward to the second half of the season, are you looking for any changes offensively, production-wise, and also leadership-wise, or are you looking to step up in the fourth quarter?
Well, certainly you want to score more than 28 in the fourth quarter, but some of that I think are result of maybe some of the games where we had our twos in and we really weren't trying to, we weren't operating at a normal pace. The other ones aren't, though, that are in question, are the three games you're probably talking about. Certainly, we've got to always address our areas of weaknesses or our areas where we're falling short. And so, every week we're going to address those things. I don't care whether it's a specific play, coverage, whatever it is. You want to address your weaknesses or areas where you need to perform better. I think that's one of the areas, so we're addressing those things, and we'll look for more of that as more opportunities as we go through these games.
Mark, going back to Tyriq Thompson, I'm just wondering, did you know that was coming at all? When did you get an indication that he wanted to sign that? Well, I guess why did it happen at the time that it did? And also, how much do you think enrolling early can help a kid?
Yes, I knew that this is what he wanted to do. We had talked about it, and so it was something that he was comfortable with doing, so we sort of made it happen. As far as the timing, we just decided that last week we would try and get him the papers last week, and they were able to get there, I think, on Monday or something, so it just worked out now. So I think it is advantage to come at mid-year for some. If you're mature enough to handle it, if your grades are in order, and it gives you an upside, but you got to be mature enough to handle it as an individual, because you're going from a high school senior setting to a college setting, so all the social issues, the academic issues, the football issues, they're all going to come right at a person very, very quickly. So I think sometimes people struggle, so it's not right for everybody, but I think in his case, this is something that he wanted to do, and I think he's prepared for it, and I think he's mature enough to handle it. So we're excited about this opportunity for him and for Michigan State football.
Mark, and it'll be 8 years, I think you'll be 66. Will you be around for your 200th game?
I don't know, that's a good question.
I guess, what are the challenges for the next 100? A little bit different than they were the
Who
first
knows
time.
what the rules will be like? So, I think the challenges in the future, because I think the landscape is changing, and I think we're in a period right now where there'll be a lot of change in college football, whether it's rules on the field or whether it's rules in recruiting or the setups of conferences. So there's a lot of change, or the things that are happening for the student athlete. I think there's a lot of change there, so it'll be interesting to watch that. Plan to be here.
Mark, going back to the fourth quarter offensive struggles, are there any consistent issues in those 3 games? I know they're different situations, but is there 1 or 2 things you can point to in all of them that need to be fixed?
Well, the bottom line is, do you score points in those situations, put the game out of reach in 2 of them, and get back into the game in 1 of them? And so when I watched the fourth quarter, and I watched the fourth quarter this week of each of those games, and you critique those things, there's different situations, it's different teams, it's I guess it's a little like playing golf, which I'm not a good golfer, but I guess if you're 100 yards out, it's never the same shot. So it's probably very much the same. It's a different team, different situation, but the end results are that you want to put the Purdue game away. Hey, we're on the 20, we're going in, up by 21. Things change. Same thing could be said for the Nebraska game. Ball goes through one of our defensive backs' hands. Should be a pick 6. Should be 34-9, but it's not. So you've got to play the cards that are handled, that are dealt you, and you've got to be able to overcome those situations. In the end, I feel like we overcame it. In the end, everything that's seemingly is a weakness for you at some point in time strengthens you. I firmly believe that. Everything that you go through, the adversity that you go through, the anxiety that you have will inevitably strengthen you if you look for it to strengthen you. If it allows you to crush your spirit, then you got problems. But I don't think that's where we're at. I think our football team is resilient. We're looking forward to another opportunity this weekend. We've got a challenge to go on the road. We've had great games with Indiana down there, and we need to play up. We've not come out. We've always come out focused in the game. We've always come out focused after halftime. What we've got to do is just close it out, and I think that's something that we've done here in the past and we'll continue to do.
Coach, as far as the human element to this football team, you've obviously got a pretty big game in 2 weeks against a rival. How do you how do you avoid overlooking the trap aspect, I guess, of playing an Indiana team that got beat soundly, that's going with a very inexperienced quarterback? How do you keep your guys down in?
Well, I think all you got to do is just, you watch the film and you see how the big play potential that's there on the offensive side of the ball. You see how they're playing defensively. You listen to reporters asking you about fourth quarter issues, and you got no problems. You can move forward. So, the way this program is built, has been built, is to every week, every day, go back, ground yourself, and work hard. That's the way I hope that we are structured and built. And if you do that, then you're always ready for the next challenge. Whether it's after a big game that you lose or after a big game that you win, you're ready for the next challenge. And I think that's what we have to be about. So next week takes care of itself. This week is about Indiana, and our focus needs to be right there. We have too much to lose. We have too much to play for. There's too many things riding on every single game that we play, and I would say that's the case for everybody involved in every conference throughout this season. There's just a lot to play for everyone.
You mentioned us in the media bringing up some of the shortcomings in the fourth quarter. Yesterday, Coach
Did I
Saban...
say consistently?
Yeah, we have consistently brought that up. Yesterday, Coach Saban said it pissed him off that the media complained about too close of victories. You seem pretty even-handed with the critics that you've dealt with at Michigan State. Why is your approach different than Saban's as far as being able to handle the criticism and expectations?
Well, that's a tough question. They were just different people, I guess. I'm not saying that either approach is right or either approach is wrong. It's a frustrating business. But that's why I put on a suit today. So I could act civilized. Because it gets to me too.
Mark, when you look at the number of different start times you guys have had over the course of the season and moving forward, how do you guys adjust to that as a program? Because that's something new. And also, what does that do and how does that affect what you do for travel and everything else on Fridays?
Really doesn't affect our travel on Friday. We're going to stay consistent with that. But I think it does affect the day because you have to sit there and you have to wait, especially for a night game. You see everything that's going on throughout the day. So we'll do different things to try and stay busy. But you just can't, you also can't overwork yourself or have so many walkthroughs that you're tired. So I think there's a fine line in being ready for the football game. We try to make sure that we're mentally ready. I think at that point it's more about being mentally ready than physically, but I do think that you have to get off your feet, you have to hydrate, you have to do those different things too.
Is there a time that you prefer over another? Start time?
I guess I would prefer to get up and play. I think most people would because there's a lot of anxiety there, but I think playing a night game is exciting too, and a 3:30 game is exciting too. So I just show up, So, but I do think that there is something to not sitting around, to get up and you get going and you play. But I'm not saying that that's, at the end of the game I can tell you which one was fun, basically.
You've talked before about eliminating distractions and noise from your players, but any national network they turn on now, Michigan State's being discussed as one of the favorites for the playoff. Vegas came out yesterday, of all the teams in college football, named you with the best chance of winning a national title. How do you get them, because they're going to hear it, so you can't just say ignore it. How do you get them to deal with it, Mark?
Well, I think if you turn on the film first of all, and you look for your deficiencies, and you understand where you're at, and understand that you always have to continue to rise to the top, but you also need to point towards the reasons that people are talking about like that too, because we have a lot of strengths as well. So, I think that, again, I go back to what I said, you got to stay grounded. You got to come to Sunday meetings to get grounded sometimes, because that's when you're going to see the good things you did, see the things that need to get better. And that's where there's going to be coaching involved. So you try and do those things. But expectations, we want those expectations. I don't think there's something that we don't want. We all want to get there. But I think that it's the journey, how you go through the journey. So the only way that I can tell you the experiences that I've had, you get there one game at a time. If our people can't understand that, then we're not sending the right message. So I know it's tough out there with social media and all the different things, the noise, as you said, but we also sort of live in a bubble too. So I don't hear as much of that. I heard about that today, so I figured that I would be asked that question and didn't really have a good answer for it. But I just guess keep trying to press through it. I think it's a good problem to have.
Mark, just overall, where do you think this defense is right now? Where do you think it needs to get better? And are you pleased with where it's at through 2 games here in conference?
You know, every game is a different set of problems, different set of circumstances for every aspect of our football team, and I think you just continue to try and get better. You know, statistically, we've given up some plays, but, you know, we've won the football games. Just like offensively, we've made a lot of plays, but, you know, in the fourth quarter, we struggled in a couple of games. So I think we've been tough to run against. You know, we've affected the quarterback relative to sacks. We've gotten turnovers. Those are the positive things. The negative things are how many explosive plays are you giving up. And basically, though, if you give up four or less explosive plays a game, we've won the football game. That's history here in 7 years, 7.5 years. And the bottom line is, do you win? So I think we're playing okay. I think we're playing pretty well. I think we have a good plan every game. I think it differentiates and changes relative to who we play. But we play people with good concepts and are constantly trying to scheme one way or the other to try and put you at a disadvantage, but that's offenses today. And you look around the country, that's offenses everywhere. And you look around the country and see the amount of points that are being scored by everyone. They're forcing you into playing 11 on 11, which is true, always going to be true, but they really almost force you into playing people 11 on 11 by 1-on-1 with the jet sweeps and the different things that people are doing and the different offensive formations and all the things that you see. So it's just sort of a new wave a little bit.
On those explosive plays you talked about, like, you know, the runs against Purdue and Wyoming, have those been pretty much all physical mistakes?
No, not all of them. Some of them are structural. But, you know, the physical mistakes sometimes occur because, you know, where's your help? You know, it's not just, okay, yeah, it goes on one person, but where's your help relative to that particular situation at that particular time? Do you have help, or is it all you? So when it becomes all you, it becomes a little more difficult. And I think that's the nature of football these days. People are spreading the field horizontally, they're spreading the field vertically, and they're doing it with different formations in different ways. You see more wide receiver runs than you've ever seen. You see more lateral movement. You see more changes of formation. You see different tempos. You know, Indiana may not motion as much, but they show tempo, getting the plays off at X amount of time. And, you know, that creates, I think, you know, awareness issues for most teams. So you're constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve. And we've been able to do that defensively, and I still think we're ahead of the curve. And I think we have good football players who, again, when you go back to some of the other questions are here, will be motivated to play on Saturday.
Mark, really in depth here, but I realized post-game, Saturday, Sunday, we never asked what the call of the fake punt was. What was that play call? We don't know because it didn't work.
Frozen.
Frozen?
Yes, we froze.
On special teams a little bit. Last week,
I
Mike,
let it go. Right.
that's good. Mike said last week that, you know, after a couple of breakdowns against Nebraska, they'd be spending a little extra time on special teams last week in practice, and that was a little better this week. Did you spend more time on that, and did you see the improvement you wanted in special teams as a whole last week against Purdue?
Yeah, I think we did. You know, we're going to spend time as a staff every week in special teams, so, you know, I'm going to be involved in that as well as some of our other coaches. You know, everybody's got different portions of special team and leads that, and they have their little individual staff that works within that special teams unit. So we spent a lot of time. We've sort of prided ourselves in being good on special teams here for pretty much our entire time here. We've had good specialists, we've had good kickers, good punters, good snappers, good holders. We've done some different things in special teams, punt returns, etc. We had a big punt return on last Saturday as well, to set up a score. McGarrett King's a big punt return. So, yeah, we're going to continue to try and do what we do there, just like everything else, critique it, try and make it better. Obviously, there was one shortcoming, and I'll take the heat for that.
Coach, halfway point of the season, are you pleased with where your football team is at? And if you could reflect back, I don't know if this might be coming too far to left field, but last year at this point you were 5-1 also. Is this football team as far along as last year's was, or further? And could you do like maybe a halfway evaluation, please?
I think different scenario. Last year's football team, 5-1, we're not in the top 25, and so we were we were grinding to get there. This year's football team is in it, and we're grinding to stay there. So in both cases, I think, the hard work is embedded in our players. I think you got to answer those questions, though, at the end of the season, because things can change very quickly, one way or the other, and that's what we saw last year. So we need to stay focused and accountable for what we're doing every single day. And as I talked to our football team about it, every play is an event in itself, every day is an event in itself, and you got to live in the present.
Would it be fair to follow up and ask if the defense can show the same amount of improvement the second half of this year as your offense did? Because this is a little bit younger defense than you had than the offense last year that matured the second half.
Yeah, we're coming. We're coming as a defense. I think we are playing some younger players. They're getting better. I think we've been impressed with our defensive tackle performance inside. Tawan is making big steps as a Mike linebacker. He's playing much better than he did earlier in the season. You got Darian Harris out there playing. I think he had a great second half. Davis has been very, very solid in the secondary. As I talked earlier, there's just things that happen sometimes. But Monte Nicholson, I think, is playing well. I think R.J. Williamson played well this past week as well. So, but it's every single week, every single day that you're out there, your performance, your effort, basically is going to impact your reputation. Let's just face it, and it's every day. Every day, even off a practice film, your reputation as a football player is what you see and what you put on that film. So I think it's important for all of us to realize that, and including as a coach, and I think we're just trying to continue to work towards and strive towards being perfect. I think because we all try to do that. I don't care where you're at. You're just trying to strive for excellence. But you got to, it's difficult to chase it.
Mark, you challenged Lawrence Thomas a little bit in the preseason over here. Just wondering how you kind of evaluate him at the halfway mark, and then as Damon gets healthier, how does he kind of work his way into that?
LT's had a good fall thus far. He's quick. He's quick-bodied. I think he's playing with effort in there, and I think he's been extremely solid in there. David Knox remember, he's been off of football for 6 months almost. He's getting back into it. He's playing a little bit more. This past week he started to play, and then, he had to pull himself out for a second. But, he'll be capable of playing this week, and we'll continue to get reps from Damon. But, LT, I think, is a solid performer in there right now.
Mark, how good is Tevin Coleman? How different is he this year versus last year? And what do you think the impact on what they do will be, affecting him with the quarterback change?
Well, I think he's a guy that they want to get the ball to. There's no question about that. He's got to touch the ball a minimum of 20-plus times a game. The guy's got huge figures in terms of runs. I think he leads maybe tied in the nation for big runs. 20-yard runs, 3 70-yard runs, X number of 60-yard runs. When you look at that, the statistics of his big runs, they're staggering. So, when he goes untouched, which is part of their philosophy, by spreading you out and running routes, as they run plays, they run routes. So you got to cover the routes because you don't know sometimes it's a play action or not. But when he hits it and goes north, he can get there quick, just like he did last year against us. So I think he's a more complete running back. You see him running through tackles, and your objective to shut him down. I think he's a key to, obviously one of the keys to victory for us. Very good player.
Any other questions for Coach?
That's all
Thank you
good.
much.
Thank you very much.